It's the 2nd of November 1944. As hundreds of American B-17s drone high overhead, Lieutenant Günther Andreas thunders down the runway at Brandis Airfield in his extraordinary interceptor. This is the Messerschmitt Me-163 Komet, the only rocket-powered fighter aircraft ever to see operational combat, and at this very moment, the fastest plane in the world. Andreas eases back on the stick, then pulls harder. The Walter rocket engine ignites with a blinding orange roar. In an instant he is slammed back into his seat as the tiny tailless machine rockets almost vertically into the sky. The airspeed needle races past 400 miles per hour and keeps climbing. Today, 15 other pilots join him in their Komets, making this the single largest Komet mission of the entire war. They climb at dizzying speed, G-forces pinning them to their seats. In mere moments they burst through the clouds into brilliant blue sky and blinding sunshine. Andreas throttles back to idle to conserve the precious few minutes of fuel and levels out. What he sees next takes his breath away. Stretching across the horizon is a seemingly endless river of aircraft, 2,000 strong. 900 heavy bombers flying in perfect combat boxes, escorted by 1,100 fighters glinting in the sun. The Komets scatter toward the colossal formation. Andreas and his close friend Oberfeldwebel Jakob Bollenrath share one last look. They both know the odds. This flight could be their final one. Bolanroth peels away first to begin his attack run. Andreas punches the throttle. The rocket reignites with brutal force, kicking him forward as speed surges towards 600 miles per hour. The massive bomber stream ahead appears almost stationary against his incredible closing rate. In a window of only seconds, he lines up his gun sight, squeezes the trigger. Twin 30mm cannons thunder to life, unleashing a storm of high explosive shells that tear across a B-17's wing. Explosions ripple along the aluminum skin. Andreas flashes beneath the entire formation, defensive traces streaking harmlessly behind him. He has inflicted damage, but not a fatal blow. Far from enough. Below, bomb bay doors yawn open across the armada. Thousands of bombs tumble earthward, devastating the fuel plants the Komets were sent to defend. Andreas still has several minutes of fuel remaining. He must do more. The main formation turns for home, leaving several wounded fortresses trailing behind, perfect targets for a hunter. Andreas circles beneath the stragglies, engine idling to save fuel. The huge silhouettes of the bombers loom above him. He selects his prey, then slams the throttle wide open one final time. The rocket unleashes its full fury. Speed builds to nearly 600 miles per hour as he climbs steeply from below. The B-17's ball turret gunner spots the tiny red streak rocketing upward and frantically swings his twin 50-caliber guns to meet the threat. Andreas centers his crosshairs on the bomber's vulnerable belly and opens fire again. One cannon jams instantly, only half his firepower remains. At the same moment, the ball turret erupts, twin machine guns roar. It's like a bat out of hell and just as hard to hit. Tracers crisscross the sky. Bullets spark and whine around the fragile Komet, while Andreas's remaining cannon hammers the fortress's underside. Then the American gunner finds the range. A 50-caliber round smashes through the canopy. Shrapnel slices Andreas above his left eye. The rest of the bullet punches through the armor plate behind his seat and into the fuel tank. Andreas's confidence in his wondrous machine vanishes in an instant. Behind him sits a tank full of T-Stoff and C-Stoff, highly volatile fuels, infamous for spontaneous explosions and for melting the flesh off unfortunate pilots. He breaks away hard. He has to get out, and fast. He dives clear of the formation. Traces whip past, but he escapes their grasp in seconds. Knowing his aircraft could explode at any moment, Andreas calmly but swiftly unbuckles and reaches for the canopy release. It doesn't move. Damn it. Come on. Move. Move. He He pushes with all his strength against the ferocious airstream pinning the canopy shut. Little does he know he is being watched. Captain Fred Glover, commanding officer of the 336th Fighter Squadron, has been tracking the Komet's contrail from the cockpit of his P-51 Mustang. Got one, intercepting. Glover rolls in from above and slides behind the stricken rocket plane. Andreas spots the Mustang, shoves the stick forward into a desperate dive as 650 caliber machine guns open up like a fire hose. Glover roars past. Andreas slams the throttle full forward. Nothing happens. He is out of fuel. He glances over his shoulder. The Mustang is already turning back for another pass. He fights the canopy again, still jammed. 6 deadly muzzles line up straight at him. Glover holds the trigger down and pours fire into the tiny winged rocket. Panels tear away. Bullets pierce the fuel tanks. Vapors ignite. Flames lick across the Komet's underside. Andreas rolls inverted and dives as steeply as he dares, feeling his aircraft shredded from below. Yet, even without power, the Komet's clean airframe gives it one last advantage. It can still outdive the piston-engined Mustang. Glover knows his time is short and gives everything, ripping the fragile fighter apart. Andreas is seconds from death when more Komets suddenly burst from the clouds. It's your lucky day, Comet. Glover breaks off the chase. Andreas deepens his dive, praying the wind will blow out the flames. Miraculously, for a moment, it works. The flames subside. Then the two fuels mix, and the flames reignite with uncontrollable fury. He must abandon the aircraft immediately. Meanwhile, in another part of the sky, Jakob Bollenrath dives on a separate bomber box. His cannons rake across the top of a flying fortress, shells exploding along the fuselage. He rockets past and throttles back to conserve fuel for another run. Waiting for him is Captain Louis Norley in his P-51 Mustang. Bullets snap past Bolanroth's cockpit. Damn it! He throws the Comet into violent evasive maneuvers and dives for speed. Norley stays glued to his tail, firing burst after burst. Bolanroth turns hard left to shake the Mustang, but loses precious speed in the process. Norley anticipates the move, lines up his gun sight, and fires. 50 caliber rounds stitch across the Komet's rear fuselage. Bolanroth ducks as impacts crackle through his machine. The Mustang overshoots. This is his chance. Bolanroth turns away and slams the throttle forward. It's time to get out of here. Instead of the familiar roar, an immense bang. The rocket engine, fatally damaged, seizes solid. No, work, work! He desperately tries to restart it. Nothing. Norley has already turned back. Bolanroth sees the Mustang lining up again. There is nothing he can do. Norley opens fire once more. Bullets tear from tail to cockpit. Flames erupt from the bullet holes as the Comet rolls helplessly out of control and plummets earthward. Back in his own burning Comet, Andreas is losing his battle with the canopy. Heat radiates through his seat. He is moments from burning alive. Come on, move! The canopy lifts slightly, then slams shut again. Then it hits him. It's the wind holding it closed. He hauls back on the stick, bleeding off speed dramatically. The canopy swings open with ease. Andreas tumbles out, pulls the ripcord. His parachute blooms. As he drifts downward, he watches in horror as Bolanroth's blazing Comet streaks nose first toward the ground. Come on, get out! No parachute appears. Jakob Bollenrath never left his aircraft. He lost his life in the battle. His was the last Me-163 Comet ever shot down by a P-51 Mustang. Lieutenant Günther Andreas, Captain Fred Glover, and Captain Louis Norley all survived the war. 16 rocket-powered Komets dared to challenge 2,000 Allied bombers that day. Blistering speed, revolutionary design, and raw courage pushed to the absolute limit. Yet it was not enough. Sometimes even the most extraordinary machine cannot turn the tide alone.
If you enjoyed this story of desperate defiance, check out the tale of the Luftwaffe pilot who attempted to ram a B-17 in a final, almost kamikaze-like act.